Good evening. It's Thursday, June 23rd, 2022. Welcome back to BoomerRexTonight, your nearly daily source for news and politics. I'm RisenLadyHeathen. Hey, asshole. What separates our show from other millennial news podcasts?
That we know we grew up in the good part of fucking around and probably are going to at least enjoy the first half of finding out that our society has chosen to do.
Fair.
And I'll miss the penguins, but we are wildly closer to Mad Max than we have been at any point in the
Yeah.
like I that's what I've got. I don't have a doomsday clock. I've got a Mad Max clock.
Fair. We have a boomer, and not just any boomer. We have Mr. Boomer Rex himself.
All right, yeah.
You two easily.
What would you do without me? You wouldn't even have a name for the show.
You two.
I'm the star of this production.
No.
Curmudgeonly rock muppet.
You two eat, sleep, and breathe politics, and I'm learning that's three unique perspectives we share, along with the facts from our literal round table. You, sir, I think forget that I had my own show before we had this show.
You're the producer.
Yeah, but I used to have my own show, so we still would have had a show.
Sorry.
Anyway. We have some info on today's January 6th hearings. They were pretty
Oh my
boring.
God, so boring.
But
Bring on the break, and they better have better new information.
and I apologize for my low energy this evening. I am having women's issues.
Oh, she got hepatitis plague.
No, I just learned that there's an actual thing called the period flu.
Gross.
Yeah. Basically, you feel like you have the flu, only
The
you're
fuck would
menstruating.
women do to the flying spaghetti monster?
So apparently, that's where I'm at. I'm at that stage in life
Oh, okay.
where I get the
You
flu.
all should get that money you owe to the
Oh,
boss.
God.
Fuck.
I think it's just an aversion of pink flu when they don't want to work.
I think it's related to menopause. We'll see. All right. First, let's dig right into our headlines. Early chickens. Tell me about this.
So there's a research group in Europe that's been going around. They had chicken carcae, which were reported to be from various periods and so forth. And so they started their investigation there and discovered that they had like 2 old chickens, and the rest of them were much younger and nothing like what they had been told in terms of, when they lived. So anyway, many of those early chickens identified by radiocarbon dating have almost complete skeletons. There's no evidence that they were butchered for human consumption. They're often older animals, and they're buried alone in pits. One specimen even had a well-healed leg fracture, which indicates someone had taken care of it while it was hurt. So anyway, and she also had a substance called a medullary bone inside her skeleton, which said she was still capable of laying eggs. So in some places, shortly after chickens were introduced, we find them buried with humans. And a new survey of the late Iron Age and Roman burials, lots of them contained chickens. And it indicated that the birds were gendered, right? Men got cocks, women got hens, right? They were spirit animals. They were to guide you to the next world.
Aw, they were your buddies.
They were your buddies.
Yeah,
awesome.
I hope it's companion cube. Otherwise, it's, hey, bring a snack in case you get lost in the wear after.
Yeah.
It doesn't sound like they were eating anything but the eggs, though, so...
Anyway, that would be in keeping with their association with Mercury, right? The god of travel and speed and all that good stuff.
Fair.
Anyway, I just think that's kind of cool. The
That is
chickens weren't
really
always food.
Yeah.
They were kind of pets.
It could be both.
True.
Then they
Everything's
wouldn't get to
both.
be old, and they wouldn't not
Yeah,
have...
the cool ones do. The ones who have a good story.
Yeah,
I'm sure
okay,
they
I'll
were
buy
like-
that.
I bet they were like, people with pet chickens now. You know what I mean?
Yeah, if we were really
Use them
hungry, I
for
can think
eggs,
of
take
3
care of them.
chickens that we would eat and 2 that we probably wouldn't. So, and we'd probably have an argument about which ones to eat.
I'd probably eat the neighbors first, but
Yeah.
I'm an asshole.
Well,
I don't know the neighbors.
3 of them are egg layers, so I would just get rid of the 2 that aren't.
Yeah.
So,
Anyway, EU and Ukraine. What is going on here?
yeah, I said this was the first step in the right direction. The EU has approved putting Ukraine on a path to EU membership. And it doesn't happen real quickly, but it requires a unanimous vote of the EU. So Zelensky said Ukraine's future is within the EU. So way to go. We could step up their admission to NATO too.
Yep.
Then we could use Clause 5 on the Russians.
Yep.
So anyway, which is what I think we should do.
Well, what protection does the EU give them? Does that give other
It
EU
gives them some
countries the
economic
ability to
support and
assist
so forth.
them more?
I don't think it has any real military component with it. So,
How
again,
can the Ukraine
this is why you fast track them
popularly
into NATO.
declare Donetsk and the
And if
rest
Turkey doesn't like that idea, Turkey can leave NATO.
Oh yeah.
stateless people, basically, so we can go in? If it's a nothing, then maybe nobody should go in there because it's easy for troops to fucking shoot at each other. And I think that's going to go our way a lot more
We
often.
could send, peacekeeping troops, like 2 armored corps.
Whatever, they're assholes who got our guys. We're going to deal with that first. That's going to be really rude. I wouldn't get in the way. That's how you get hurt real bad, kids. But
Or punished memorably. That would be fun to watch.
I don't know. What happens when you send, right? How's the Marine Corps got? Expeditionary battalions. Now,
I was thinking of 7th Corps.
fine, but you'd have to reassemble it. But yeah,
Peace. But that's the
That'll
size
take a
unit I
while.
would send.
we don't have that, so it'll take a while.
Oh, we have that. It's just not sitting in Poland right now.
It can't get there in 72 hours and do a thing.
No.
So
It could take several months to get it there.
Really quick. I'm just
It's
throwing
when
our
they
fucking
cost-
hat over a fucking fence, man. We're going there to get 2 guys back with wild. I'm bringing like
Oh,
9
fine.
SWAT teams to get 1 tweaker out of a tree.
Okay.
Because
No,
there's a
I'm-
chance we'll bump into somebody who's going to say something rude. And we'll be like, I don't know what the fuck he said, but we lit him up and their shitty tires popped and everybody dead.
Yep.
And Russia's going to go, what the fuck? And we're going to go, maybe we should stay out of countries that don't have a like functional government so they can have status of forces.
Yeah.
This is how people get hurt.
Yep.
And then we should run the fuck away.
All right, tracked from birth.
So this one was interesting, and I didn't know about it. Michigan has agreed to destroy more than 3 million blood spots taken from babies that are being kept in storage as a partial settlement to an ongoing lawsuit over consent and privacy. They took samples from every baby that was born. They pricked their heel and took blood samples.
To what end?
What?
To what end?
Well, the initial use is to check for 50 rare diseases, right? So there was a
usual
legitimate
stuff.
reason for taking it.
Yeah.
But the dispute is over the leftover samples. And so at the moment, a blood spot from each child is being stored in Lansing, while 5 more are sent to the Michigan Neonatal Biobank in Detroit for safekeeping. Scientists pay a fee to use the data from the, right? So I think you could redo the program in such a way that,
People could
on the
opt in.
other hand, well, yeah, but it contains the DNA,
Yeah.
right? Which means somebody shows up with a subpoena, right? Takes 3 million samples, goes off and does DNA on them.
Yeah.
So anyway, I have no heartburn with them being destroyed. Fuck it.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
We said, well,
A
we
lot of
got
that
permission
ship
from the
sailed.
parents. Yeah, it was one of 12 pieces of paper they asked you to sign,
but
saying things like, you can't leave with your
We
baby
allow
until
for
you've
others.
signed all this for shit.
I.
Yeah.
No, the whole thing is scammy start to finish when it comes to the medical kids. Fuck them. But part of me sad to see the data go, and I always wonder if we could properly anonymize it. But the answer is I don't trust us to keep the database. On the other hand, I don't trust us to destroy the database.
Yeah, true.
I think now it just goes into who had a copy on the way.
Yep. Depending on what's there, I have no idea what the medical community was getting from that storehouse.
Hey, if
We'll
we
keep
had
an
a
eye on the story because I'm sure at some point there'll be some discussion of what the value is.
well, if we had national health care and a privacy policy and some
Yeah,
laws,
absolutely.
then maybe any of this could matter and we could all get paid a little bit. But I don't know.
Yeah, love it.
New spyware.
Oh, cool. So, an Italian company's hacking tools are being used to spy on Apple and Android smartphones in Kazakhstan and Italy. So anyway, Google said in a report on Thursday, Milan-based RCS Lab, whose website claims European law enforcement agencies, right, as clients, has developed tools to spy on private messages and contacts of targeted devices, etc., etc. In any case, and here's another vendor, right, handing out these incredibly dangerous tools to Kazakhstan and Italy. Are you fucking kidding? Neither one of those has a government. So anyway, Apple says the company has revoked all known accounts and certificates. Google said it had taken steps to protect users of Android operating system and alert them about the spyware. So anyway, way to go.
Mm.
RCS Lab says its products and services comply with European rules and help law enforcement agencies, which of course is what everybody says about that kind of shit.
Yeah.
And then it gets put to the worst possible use and they got paid for it.
Yeah.
Yeah. So
That's how that rolls. Sounds about right.
you wonder if maybe Anonymous might want to fix this.
Oh yeah. Sure, Anonymous would have fun with that. All right. New kind of fraud.
Turns out we've already talked about this once, right? So attorney Greg Gordon, right, sat in a packed hotel ballroom and talked about with bankruptcy lawyers. And he explained the Texas two-step. This was a tactic that made Jones Day partner a polarizing figure. It involves splitting a company into two, dumping the legal liability into one of the entities, and putting that new firm into bankruptcy.
Which is called Johnson
Companies
Johnson.
love it because it allows them to escape accountability, right? So standard shit.
Yeah.
This is the kind of thing we have to stop. People, when the fucking courts don't work, the next step is torches and pitchforks.
Yeah. No, it's not.
So, God damn, America, wake the fuck up.
Yeah.
Even the French had a revolution over this kind of stupid.
Oh
Yeah.
God, yeah. And they killed a bunch of rich people.
Anyway,
for that.
Gordon has done the maneuver for 4 major companies: Georgia Pacific, Saint-Gobain, Train Technologies, and, of course, Johnson & Johnson, the family-hating company.
Johnson & Johnson, the fuck your family company.
There you go.
Yeah.
Each
Fuck
face
those
tens
people.
of thousands of lawsuits
Yeah.
and have escaped their
This
liability.
litigation's shield system was designed after the successful things. It was the other hand of the 90s tort reform.
Yeah. But again, if people can't get justice in courts, they're going to
They're
get
going to do
justice.
something else. Yeah.
Yeah. And that may not be as well targeted as you would hope.
Well, or in theory, you gave them right. The sort of Damocles only works if you got some shit to lose. Like, hey.
Yeah.
Boy. All right, here we go.
So anyway, we're talking about what's the next step beyond the end of Roe v. Wade. And so the question comes up. So a woman from Idaho, where abortion is illegal, travels to Washington. She ends her pregnancy there, and a prosecutor in Idaho declares that an Idaho citizen has been killed and tries to prosecute the woman and the abortion provider for murder.
Fuck.
Everybody keeps saying, "Oh no, that's never going to happen, right? That's just scary stuff," and so on and so forth. And so, while you're thinking about that, James Bopp Jr., General Counsel of the National Right to Life Committee, this month circulated model legislation for anti-abortion states that seek to stop some people, namely minors. It always starts with, we're going to protect
Of course,
the
what about the children?
From traveling to other states to end their pregnancies. A person who takes a minor across state lines for an abortion with the intent of keeping parents unaware would be guilty of felony trafficking. She's pregnant. She doesn't need her fucking parents' permission.
No, if you guys think that a woman is mature enough once they are able to get pregnant to then raise said baby, then they are also mature enough to decide that they don't want to raise said baby or have it fuck
Yeah.
up their body. Because as much of you men who don't really seem to understand that having a baby does a lot to a woman's body. You don't just put on weight and all that other stuff. It changes your physical skeleton the first time you have a baby.
Yeah.
And some children will have problems because of this when they get pregnant too young and carry to term. It is very unhealthy for both
And humans
the
don't
mother
birth well in the
and
best of
the child.
circumstance.
And you tend to have more preemies and such like that. And it's very unhealthy. So let's just keep this in mind. This is a woman's health thing, not an abortion thing.
Yep, but the Nazis want to
Yeah.
protect the children.
They're not protecting the children.
I know
They're
they're not.
physically harming these children.
No.
Physically harming them.
This is the continuing war on women in the standard guise of protecting the children. This is what the fucking rethugs do.
Yeah,
Yeah.
whatever
They have
somebody
done
says,
this for years.
whatever-
Fuck them.
Yeah,
They
no,
practice
whenever somebody
incrementalism.
says, what about
Yeah.
the children? You should always stop, look at them, and say, what about the fucking children? Because the truth of the matter is, the what about the children bullshit, they've been doing it since black kids started to go to school.
Oh yeah, absolutely.
What about the children? That was one of the early starts of this. So
That's
think
what it
about
always
that.
is. Yes.
Yeah. No, it's a paved path to whatever.
You can tell when an ideology
restrictive-
is running on fumes,
Yeah.
and they're going to have to make the decision of whether or not they're going to really make the jump for fascism. I'm not sure they have the momentum to stop, right? I'm not sure the sane.
No,
voices are the
they
majority.
have already made the jump to fascism. Period.
Yeah.
The Republican Party is now the Nazi Party of America.
Yeah, fine, but they haven't gone for an election yet in a way that's going to really require a response because we haven't had one to the first one yet.
Yeah. But anyway,
So, no,
we're gonna.
All
it
right.
looks like they're putting people in place. They're going to carry them over the cliff regardless of what they want.
Yeah.
Off and on, the courts have intervened to stop that shit. We'll see.
Yeah.
But again, once they get control, then they change all the judges and everything works just the way the Nazis want.
Having to rule on everything that isn't the sound of like you're well past the rumble strip and well into guardrail or whatever.
Yep.
Like
You are harvesting what?
So, a Nigerian senator has been charged with conspiring to transport a boy to the UK in order to harvest organs. Now, oh God. The Special Crimes Unit became aware of this. The boy has been taken away and he's in a safe place. Okay, fine. But, again, this guy is, besides being a former Nigerian citizen, he's now a visiting professor at the medical school. And they're saying, well, visiting professors, right, they're non-residents, they're unpaid and advisory. And again, this is Londongrad all over again.
Yep.
Right? This is the UK being accepting of pig fuckers who have nothing more than money. And this one should be imprisoned for 30 years.
you hope, as opposed to he's the hookup for like I know a guy.
And what
who's
was that
selling
wonderful
kids.
phrase from the movie? The darkest hole in England.
Yeah.
So, anyway. No, what he should be done is take him to an empty elevator shaft. So, anyway. God damn it. England, wake the fuck up.
Yeah. No, it's the same as the story of I think it was a Florida woman hired to get a woman to be a surrogate, and that went as horribly as you figure it did. Hey, all of the stories, whenever we find out somebody is mail ordering humans, it's always for bad purposes.
And surrogacy didn't have to be. So,
No, but
if they're nice and cheap and you can buy them, what the hell, right?
yeah, no,
All right. Boomer Rex is about damn time. Tell me the good news.
Oh, I love this. This is, you remember they issued 4 subpoenas yesterday to grand juries,
Yep.
right? So they issued some more today, including Arizona GOP Chair Kelly Ward and her husband. who were among the false Trump electors. There's a photograph of them. Have received grand jury subpoenas. On Wednesday, the FBI reportedly executed a search warrant on Michael McDonald. He's the chairman of the Nevada Republican Party. Georgia Republican Party Chair David Shaffer was served with a subpoena. On Thursday evening, CBS News chief elections and correspondent Robert Costa posted an email sent by Representative Mo Brooks to the then special assistant to the president and Oval Office Operations Coordinator Molly Michael on behalf of himself and congressional allies with instructions from the former president on how they should request pardons. Hey, fucktards. If it isn't illegal, you don't need a fucking pardon.
Oh, yeah, they knew it was illegal. That's why they wanted fucking pardons.
So we now have evidence of a number of Republican members who sought pardons. Mo Brooks, Matt Gaetz, Louis Gohmert, Scott Perry, Marjorie Taylor Greene. All sought pardons in
Everybody
January.
remember, if you need a pardon, get a pardon. Don't ask for a pardon. Like, get your pardon before you do your thing.
Yeah. You can probably still get a pardon. I would show up in the prosecutor's office and offer testimony
Sing
in
really loud and
return for...
often.
Yeah. So anyway.
Because if it's true, it's hard to tell what's whistling past the graveyard and what may actually be some reasoned thought that Trump may be losing control, right? That people are looking more and more at DeSantis, and I think if you make that shift late enough, Democrats won't be able to corner on it, because Democrats are happy to run on the fact that they're not Republicans.
Which this time
And they
out
think that
probably
will
isn't
carry
enough.
them.
And while we're at it, don't forget Jeffrey Clark, on whom the FBI executed a warrant.
Yeah.
So, search warrant.
All right, dumbass of the day.
Oh, Russ Voigt, the president for the Center for Renewing America. Oh, I love the titles for their idiot organizations. And former director of the Office of Management and Budget. I mean, these people, Trump brought these people
This
in
is the
from...
big change. That I will say, Jesus fuck, I'm old. Lot too many years of watching politics.
Yeah. Is typically you don't bring the loonies into the
money
government.
Kids were really good at making whatever that devil's equivalent of the ACLU is.
Yeah.
Right? That sounds a lot like the ACLU. It's very boring. The things that ruined the world had the most boring names, as opposed to the very excitable, right, names you get from very excitable people.
Black Lives Matter.
I was talking about the crazies who are doing... What the hell did you just babble about?
Center for Renewing America.
Yeah.
Where renewing means taking it to the full Nazi organization.
Whatever, but it's wildly more, right? You hear that and you vaguely listen, as opposed to Center for Growth.
Yeah, peace, I understand. That where the name doesn't automatically cue you to go, oh fuck, get away from these people as quick as you can, because they are nuts.
Or there's a handful
anything
of
with
things.
patriot in the title. Yeah. At this point, anything on the right with the word America in the title.
I know,
Right.
but on the other hand, having watched them take away symbols from all the other people, at some level, if they end up taking away the concept of America, didn't they win? Kind of regardless. So, like the early 2000s question of,
God, you're an
the
asshole.
terrorists win.
Anyway.
And then we got rid of all of the civil rights and shit. Terrorists kind of won.
We're in the
So
process
Voigt
of
said,
it, dude.
yesterday more than a dozen DOJ law enforcement officials searched Jeff Clark's home in a pre-dawn raid and put him in the streets in his PJs and took his electronic devices.
Oh,
Yeah,
he sleeps in
that's-
PJs?
That's what we do.
That's his problem, man. Who
That's what we-
sleeps in PJs?
That's what we do with every criminal. I don't understand what the problem is.
Hey, they didn't shoot
So
his
he's
dog,
lucky
right?
he's lucky they let him put on PJs. So, anyway.
Surprised he fucking had PJs. Who the fuck has PJs?
I heard DOG to begin with, so basically I had the mental image of this guy's house getting raped by like a bunch of dog bounty hunters. So
Yeah,
I had
okay.
a whole moment. And I was
Which
like,
would have
"Oh,
been fun. Yeah.
Obviously meant DOJ, Brian.
Yeah.
Or said DOJ, and you don't know the difference.
I
So,
said DOJ.
I believe you.
So,
Oh, God.
I think I
Alright.
said DOJ.
I
You
don't
could
trust-
check. Anyway,
Uh,
I love it. These entitled people who think they should somehow be treated differently than a common criminal. Fuck 'em.
Yeah.
all right.
And I would love to have video of assholes perp walk out of the airport.
He's not an asshole. He's a shithead. Let's be
No, okay.
honest. We have an asshole. He's a good
Sorry
person.
about that. I didn't mean to implicate our
He's a shithead. All right.
asshole.
Updates with BoomerRex health threats.
Oh, so this one caught my eye. United Kingdom declared a national incident after traces of the polio virus were found in sewage in London. Britain, like many developed nations, has been polio-free since the 80s. Again,
Ooh, bless you.
because of a high rate of vaccinations.
Looks like apparently not.
So they've identified this as type 2 vaccine-derived polio virus, right? As opposed to a wild or naturally occurring.
Okay.
This was in the oral polio vaccines. It's one of the reasons we stopped using the oral polio vaccines, because we had others. But people who got the vaccine would occasionally shed the virus. All right, so it's being detected. But it remains common in nations such as Pakistan, Afghanistan, and Nigeria. Okay, cool. So we had some person who had recently been vaccinated who traveled to London.
Yeah.
But interesting, and it's very interesting, they caught it in their monitoring of the sewage.
Yeah.
This is a good idea, folks. So,
Well, that's what we've been doing with COVID too, right?
no, we really haven't. There is no consistent program anywhere in the United States except a couple of cities that tried it.
Yeah.
No, we have no public health system in the United States. None. Zero. Zip.
That's why it's always a wonder when we manage to like wander around and not cause the next problem.
China put together 50,000 isolation beds in China
Yeah.
in 4 weeks.
Yeah.
If we had needed 50,000 isolation beds here, we'd still be building them 2 years after. And of course, only half of them would be built because we would have selected the builders based on political cronyism.
Yep.
And they would have gotten the money and not done a fucking thing.
We
Right.
did need them. We didn't build them.
Yeah.
We
Anyway.
just decided to say the problem solved itself.
Yeah.
Yeah, it did. It's boomer
By
removal.
and large.
All right. Climate weirding.
Yeah, again, this is the standard thing, except people don't understand. Climate weirding is about the fact that, you know, what your 30-year history of temperatures and so forth don't mean shit,
Yeah.
right? So we had
If we're
3,000.
lucky, we'll end up in a new thing we can take notes on and tell what it's going to be like. Or we may
Yeah.
have pushed it into a place where it's just chaotic all the time.
So we had more than 3,000 new daily high temperatures in the lower 48 in a single week.
Yeah.
So nearly twice as many unprecedented warm temperatures reached at night than during the daytime. And the at night is worse, right? Because at night interferes with your sleep, which is a huge deal. So anyway, Andrew Pershing says, you know, climate change is impacting us every day somewhere, right? There are big parts of the world that we're living in right now. So anyway,
Yep.
that's,
We don't have
again,
to have
climate
that
weirding
happen
says
with
what you expect your weather to do has much less to do with what it's going to do than it used to. And it used to be safe. The safe answer, what's the weather tomorrow going to be? There were 3 good answers. The first was same as today. The second was look 400 miles to the west, and that's what you'll have tomorrow. And the third was take your baseline climatology. Well, the third one no longer works. And the first 2 are working less well every day. So, anyhow.
I'll be fine. It's supposed to make that noise.
Yeah, right.
Seriously.
Oh, so sad.
All right. So, I said yesterday that I was going to see where Fox News, and if they even posted anything about the J6 hearings on their main page. So,
What they say?
I counted 16 articles down, buried under articles such as their head article that says, Biden uses a highly detailed cheat sheet reminding him to perform basic tasks like sitting. CDC warns disease outbreak among gay bisexual men, one of the worst in U.S. history.
Yeah, that's meningitis. Meningitis is no joke.
Yeah.
So that's one they ought to have a real hard look at. Because I have been places where it didn't happen while I was there, but basic training facilities where they had everybody on lockdown for 2.5 months and you weren't allowed to get out of your bed. So.
Film studio CEO refuses to bow to woke viewers taking issue with old movies.
Depends which old movie and what the argument is.
Social
Well,
media
yeah,
erupts liberal governor's fiery reaction to landmark ruling on guns. Talk about Orlando Magic. Texan father doesn't think mother should be charged after 5-year-old dies in a hot car. Elizabeth Warren, no evidence student loan debt forgiveness will lead to inflation.
No, they don't have the money. They're not going to spend it.
These used vehicles are skyrocketing in value due to high gas prices. Oh shit, it's even further
That's one
down
good
now.
reason to repair my Miata and get it a new top. Because that sucker got 32 miles to the gallon every goddamn day.
Hell yeah.
Fox News host Tucker Carlson discusses Kamala Harris. It's time to reassess our view. And then something from Hannity. And wow, yeah. So a couple hours ago, it was somewhere on this main page under something about Gilligan's Island.
That makes perfect sense.
Yeah, there was some sort of a headline about Gilligan's Island, and they had the Gilligan's Island headline twice before I got to Joe Biden, and it's not even on the page
Now I'm
anymore.
going to run it down because I'm wondering, like, are they going for the fishing expedition thing? I know it's not going to be a good reference. I'm just...
No, remember the professor? I
Yeah.
hadn't known this. He flew, I think, 48 missions as a bombardier.
Yeah.
So, in World War II.
Is that what that thing's about?
It's the only thing I've seen recently on Gilligan's Island.
Okay.
It was a Snopey thing. It went around the interwebs.
Oh.
The other thing that went around the interwebs was a story about how COVID vaccination decreases sperm viability and motility. So the actual study says, they'd have a baseline from before vaccination. They have one about 150 days in after vaccination, which shows no changes. Which shows a modest reduction, right, 20%, right. And then they have another one 4 months after that, which shows everything is back to normal.
Yeah.
So.
Of course, because your
Again.
system's busy doing other shit.
Yeah.
So anyway, when you Google January 6 hearings, there's an article from 5 hours ago and an article from 4 hours ago. The one from 4 hours ago says January 6 committee hearing details Trump meeting where DOJ officials threatened mass resignations. And the one from 5 hours ago says January 6 committee Thursday hearing will focus on Trump pressuring DOJ over 2020 election. So
that was a will focus.
Well,
They didn't even bother to watch. They wrote up their thing beforehand. Because we already knew that.
right. So it's just, but a lot of news companies were doing that. This is what was going to happen.
It
and,
was that, boy.
So it sounds like standard faux news, old news.
Yeah.
Yeah, no, and again, their coverage is standard to everybody else's coverage. There's,
Yeah.
so fine. But again,
They
like,
backfilled enough so they can always point to some article saying, of course they
Of course we
addressed what-"
covered it.
yeah, but again, like 2 hours ago, it was on the front page, but it was 16 stories fucking down
Yep.
under
Well, and
the
I
headlines are
suspect
just
they
trying to-
rearrange those stories based on the response they get.
Oh, I'm sure.
Because remember that Fox News is in it to sell advertising
Everyone's
space.
in it to sell
And if people don't click on something, it's coming off your front page, because your front page is where people go to click. So
Right, but when you have to scroll 16 stories, nobody's going that far down. You're going to read the top
well,
two,
and I'm
maybe
saying
three
the reason
stories.
it got there is because nobody clicked it.
Yeah.
So
If it had been heavily clicked, it would have been up at the top.
I don't necessarily believe that. But anyway,
I guarantee you they rearranged their
Yeah.
page.
So I'm going to read an article from NBCnews.com about the January 6th hearing. It's the shortest one I could find because, again, there's nothing real interesting today. It was kind of a repeat of the first half of yesterday's, only with different people in different states. So basically,
Yeah,
the
what we're
same
finding
stuff.
out is the whole false elector and so forth. That was a real thing. That was a coup attempt.
Yeah, and
Right?
they did
That's
it.
a fucking felony.
Right, and
Marx
they
Brothers riot version 2.0. It was going to create enough smoke
Yeah.
to say, oh, well, we'll kick it back to the States or something else, or hold on, let's see, and wait a bit. And
Yeah.
the Supreme Court, because
And it
somebody's
was
got
a
to be in
felony
charge.
and it didn't
Oh,
work.
Okay, so anyway.
No wonder they wanted pardons.
So this is
Oh,
called
shuckadoodles.
This article is called January 6th Hearing Highlights DOJ Officials Detailed Trump Push to Install Loyalists. The effort came amid public and private pressure from the president for the department to give credence to bogus claims of election fraud ahead of January 6th, the officials testified. I see no name of a specific person who wrote it. It just says by NBC News, so there's that. The January 6th committee focused its fifth hearing on then President Donald Trump's efforts to pressure the Justice Department to aid in his campaign to overturn the 2020 election. The efforts, public and private, culminated in an Oval Office meeting just days ahead of the January 6th riot, in which top justice officials threatened to resign if Trump went through with the plan to install Jeffrey Clark atop the agency because he was willing to assist in Trump's plan.
I'll tell you what, if I were standing in the cold in my PJs with the FBI standing all around me while they took my electronic devices, I'd begin to get worried. So, hey, Jeffrey Clark, you might think about talking to the prosecutors too. Because otherwise, I think you're going to talk to some prison guards.
3 former senior Justice Department officials who rebuffed Trump at the time testified live. Jeffrey Rosen, the acting attorney general, Richard Donahue, the acting deputy attorney general, and Stephen Engel, who led the department's Office of Legal Counsel. Thursday's hearing is the last one this month after the committee decided to push the final scheduled hearings into July, a move lawmakers said would allow more time to process new information. Key highlights from day 5. At least 5 House Republicans, including Representatives Mo Brooks of Alabama, Matt Gaetz of Florida, Andy Biggs of Arizona, Louis Gohmert of Texas, and Scott Perry of Pennsylvania, asked Trump's White House for presidential pardons after the Capitol riot, according to testimony from former White House officials, aides and attorneys shown by the January 6th committee. Donahue testified that Trump told him and Rosen in December to just say the election was corrupt and leave the rest to me and the Republican congressman. Donahue's testimony put GOP Representative Scott Perry at the center of the effort to elevate Clark. And that's it. So, yeah,
Cool.
those were... Yeah, that's again. It was particularly boring, and I've been really excited about all these hearings. I really enjoyed all of them, but this one, and maybe it was partially because I wasn't feeling good, but I was just pretty much glazed over the whole time. I was just like,
The value of this is that you have more and more and more incontrovertible evidence that this was an organized coup attempt.
No, and I can see this.
And we see that reflected in the subpoenas that have been handed out to the false electors and so forth. So,
right.
this may go somewhere.
But my thing is that I can see how this would be surprising to people who have not been following the story and didn't know that these things have been popping up throughout this past year or whatever. But we've covered all this, so we know This
We
has
knew
been
in general
happening.
detail. What we didn't have was the detailed evidence to prosecute people.
Exactly. So this was just kind of confirming stuff that we already knew about.
This is
which
the dry run for the trial.
Good. Yeah.
Better be.
But yeah,
I mean,
Hey,
but I don't get that crazy about it because
Milk Toast Garland, wake the fuck up.
no, I definitely feel like the DOJ has been being more active in their paying attention of this and potentially might do something, but I'm still not holding my breath.
No.
well, they've got all the paperwork they need to hide from doing anything that could affect elections. So we better hope they find something interesting quick.
Yep.
Yeah. But
So,
yeah. So,
rock and roll, DOJ.
nope. Good information. So if you don't know these things, please feel free to watch it. It's got a lot of good stuff in it. But again, for us, this was just confirming things we already knew, and a little bit going in a bit more depth as to how close America really was to having an installed president. Much closer than I think anybody
having a
wants
coup.
to.
That's what this
talk
was.
about.
This was a coup.
Yep.
Right, and that's
Okay.
how you install a new government, a new person. In this instance,
Now, we
would have been
typically
Trump.
do it with elections, but anyway.
We're supposed to do
Yes,
it with
I know.
elections, so
But the right word is
That
coup.
turned out to be a really bad way to get any problems solved, according to everyone who's alive and has eyes and ears. But
I
It
think that
probably
one
isn't
has
better.
more to do with the role of money in politics.
absolutely.
But at this point, every time I turn around, I find some new criminal doing some new criminal thing that brings me to the edge of saying, do we have any honest people left? Right? Is there anybody that's safe to put in any position of authority, right, who won't misuse that authority to steal or,
Yep.
benefit their family or benefit their political friends? And I just...
Or is hauling around enough skeletons that they're not going to say boo to anybody for fear of being
Yep.
exposed. Yeah.
all right. So don't forget to comment, like, subscribe, heart,
Or-
follow,
yeah,
review. Smash
that
that like
like
button on YouTube. Go to BoomerRexTonight, no spaces, on Facebook for fun memes and a link to our Patreon. Give us $1. You can find us on YouTube as BoomerRex, or check your favorite podcasting service for BoomerRexTonight. We can be found on over a dozen different platforms, including Podbean, Apple Podcasts, iHeartRadio, and Samsung Podcasts. Hit us up on Twitter at BRexTonight. And if you Google BoomerRexTonight, no spaces, all links will lead you to us. We love
Because
y'all.
we are so cool.
And we'll see you back
Come
here
back tomorrow night, the internet.
tomorrow
I'll
night.
have good news.
Don't forget to smash that like button.
on Boomer Rex tonight.